Hey, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for visiting. If you're a returning member, it's good to see you again. So in this video, what we're going to be talking about is Evil Energy V-bands. And what are V-bands? So V-bands are something that connects two pieces of pipes together. And you could think of it as like a flange, but much better, much more efficient. Not as easily prone to leaks as flanges and the O-rings that fit inside flanges. So let's go ahead and open this up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so this is a 2-pack and that's really cool because if you have exhaust systems where you need like more than one V-band, then it's good to buy the 2-pack and you get a good deal on it. Again, Evil Energy did not, or I should say again, but what I am saying is Evil Energy did not pay me to make this video or to, advertise their product. Like I said in all my other product review videos, I only choose to review products that I stand behind. So that means products that I've used and I like and I trust. And I've been using Evil Energy since the beginning. They're a great company, high quality product. And I want to just share what products I use on my exhaust builds so that when you purchase an exhaust, you know what kind of quality you're getting. Or if you want to build your own exhaust, these are the V-bands that I use and, you can use them too with confidence. All right, so let's dive into it. All right, so here we have our V-band and let's just go ahead and remove this nut. And so how this V-band works is that it comes in 3 pieces, just like this. And these are gonna be your 2 bands, I guess as you would say, or you would call them, but these are your flanges. These are your, more like modified modern day connectors. So one cool thing that Evil Energy does is they have this recessed lip right here. So let's see if I can show you that. We'll get a up close picture there, but there's a recessed lip in here. And then on this side, it's extruded. So it's kind of, going outward. And what that does is when you put the 2 connectors together, it creates a very tight inside seal. Right? So then on this outer ring right here, this outer ring, that creates your second seal. So think of this as your first stage. This inner ring right here is your first stage seal. And then this outer ring is your second stage seal, right? So once they connect together, and you can see I'm trying to slide them and I can't because of this inside ring here, right? So they're connected. Then you'll take your clamp, which acts as a 3rd stage seal, in a way, so to speak. But this clamp is what's going to tighten it all together. Okay, so you can see how it springs like that. And so what you're going to do is you're going to put your nut on here. And they have this little, like, it's almost like a jet nut. If you're, familiar with jet nuts or K-nuts in the racing world, they're like self-tightening nuts without the little plastic insert. So they can withstand the heat and that plastic won't melt. All right, so basically you would just tighten this up really tight and then you would have your connection. And it would be a very tight, solid connection and you won't get any gas leaks or anything like that. Okay, so how do you use Evil Energy V-bands? Well, I'm glad you asked, and I'm going to show you. All right, so let's get some piping right here. All right, so this is a piece of pipe that we have for our exhaust system, and pretty much what you're going to do is you're going to clean off this little surface right here. Just make sure it's nice and clean. And then on the opposite end of your V-band, you're going to insert your pipe just like that. See? And you want it to connect and make sure that it's mating on the inside. See how it's mating up right there all around? So you want to make sure that it's mating on the inside. And then from there, you're going to take your welding torch, whether you're going to do it, you're going to TIG or MIG. I highly recommend to TIG these, but you're going to just tack each side. And this is where you get a lot of, mixed reviews, so to speak. And this is the part that takes the most, attention to detail. You want to make sure that this doesn't warp. You want to make sure that these don't warp, because what happens is you get a lot of heat input once you start tacking these together, and it'll cause these flanges to warp, and then after that they won't sit right. Maybe they'll sit like this or something, they'll kind of be offset, and that's because the heat warped them. So there's ways around that. One is to really just kind of, with your tacks, just get in and out, so when you're tacking up your V-band, just make sure you're quick out, and then tack on opposite ends, and then make sure after each tack you double check to make sure that the gap is still closed, so that it doesn't pull a little bit and you get a little gap like right there. So you want to make sure that it's still sealed, and if it's not, you can kind of push it down, put a little force on it, and then tack it again. Okay, that's one way. Another way, and this is the way that I'm going to do it, is we're going to take a block of aluminum. So this is a very thick block of aluminum, and it's going to act as a heat sink or a chill block. And we're going to sit that on this aluminum like this, and then that way when we tack up our V-band, all that heat is going to go directly into this aluminum block, and then it's going to minimize or reduce the amount of warpage into our V-band, okay? And, if you're kind of like a beginner, or you just don't feel confident, you can add more chill blocks. So you can add another chill block right here, and kind of mount it, and then you can have your chill block on the bottom, and then you can just tack here and here. And then all that heat is going to go either between this block and this block right here. And then that way you will get a good tack. You'll get a good tack without warping your V-band. So that's really the best method that I like for mounting V-bands. So once again, these V-bands are machined very nicely, very accurately, high level of precision into Evil Energy's product. That's one thing that I really like about this product, and I've used this on other builds. They don't rust, they don't come apart. Everything is very well built, and they offer these V-bands at a really good price. That's another thing that I like about them. They're not like overly expensive, and you get a great product. So what we're going to do now is we're going to weld on this V-band to the pipe that I just showed you. But first, I don't like the surface finish of this aluminum block. You can see right here, it's all scratched up and everything like that. So we're going to go straight to the mill press, and we're going to face this side, and we're going to face this side, and most likely I'll probably face the whole block. So let's go ahead and do that. But in the meantime, if this is all you wanted to see in this video, then yes, I highly recommend buying Evil Energy V-bands. They hold up well to high, heat. In an exhaust application, we're not talking about welding or anything like that, but they're very good. It's a very good product. They're a very good brand. Customer service is excellent. Everything about them is great. I highly recommend them. So once again, show you the box right here. Evil Energy this is the company that I use, or the brand that I use for all of my exhaust builds, and they just don't let me down. So I'll put a link in the description where you can buy these V-bands, and that way you can, build your own exhaust system, or again, you can just have that much more confidence in the exhaust systems that you buy from here at GarageDynamics, and knowing that you have a good quality setup and you're not going to have a leaky exhaust system, because nobody wants a leaky exhaust. Okay, so with all that said, let's go ahead and face this block. All right, so we have our chill block in the drill mill, however you want to call it. And we have a 3-blade face mill on there. And so pretty much what we're doing is we're just going to face it. It's also, we got that cross slide vise going there. And that's a really nice addition to the drill mill. It's what makes it the drill mill. And so, we're just going to face that block so that it is nice and flat, because the Evil Energy V-bands are machined really well. So I have to make sure that this block matches their level of standards. And it does. So we're good to go. All right, so you can see there just how flat it is now, or how smooth it is. And so now we can take our pipe, put it in the V-band, and get everything prepared. So this is one method that you can use to weld your V-band on. The other method that I'm going to use is just I'm going to sit it onto the chill block and then make my tacks from there, and then eventually weld off the chill block. But again, just to demonstrate different options that you have, you can also lock everything up in the V-band and then weld it. And so now I'm just going to clean everything, get everything prepped, because it is stainless, and so you want to have a clean working surface so that you don't introduce contaminants. So you can see right there that the V-band butts up nicely against the tubing. There's no gaps, and so we're going to make our first tack. And you want to make sure after you make, at least 2 tacks, that the V-band flange doesn't warp on you. Because if it warps, then you're going to have to make some adjustments before you start welding, or else, the whole thing is going to kind of just be offset. So another thing with the tacks, you can see right there that, just get in, get out really quick, and there's, the seam is still butted up nicely against each other, so the V-band flange is butted up against the tubing. So everything looks nice, and you can see right there the 2 V-band flanges butts up nicely against each other, and there's no warpage. Everything is nice and tight, and it's making a tight seal. So that's good. All right, so you can see here, this is the other method where you would put both together and then put the V-band connector on. And I'm trying to hold everything together. It's like taking a bunch of groceries from the car, and so you don't have to make another trip back to the car. And so you can see there, for this method, what you would do is you would just tighten it up like you would if it was on the car, and then you would start welding. You would make your tacks and everything like that. So you can see right there that the seam is very tight. They're butted up nicely against each other. And now we can start making our tacks. And we're going to just make a couple, just to see what it's like. And so the theory behind doing it this way is that it's because everything is so tight, the clamp has everything tightened, that they're not going to warp. And there's going to be more metal to soak up that heat. That's why you can see I just felt it, and it wasn't even hot. That's just one of the techniques with that method. So you can see there some more tacks in there. And again, when you're welding your tacks, just get in and out really fast and weld closer to the V-band and not the tubing, so you don't blow a hole in the tubing. All right, so you can see there now we're going to make some more tacks in those larger gaps, and just to get everything nice and balanced, because, you know, you don't want the V-band to pull to one side when you start welding, and so tacking just helps with that. All right, so here's going to be the back purging setup. You can see right here that argon is going to flow from the top down to the bottom, and then it's going to kind of leak out the bottom right there. And because argon is heavier than oxygen or heavier than air, and then so this part right here at the top, that is not welded, that's just tacked on. So there's, you know, so oxygen or air can leak out through there, which is intended, and it'll leak out through the bottom. And so that's the setup that I have going for this. So let's start welding. All right, so I'm gonna make just a one pass weld right here, and you can see there that the back purging, the argon protects very well. There's no sugaring. Everything looks really good in that weld, and so we're gonna test it to see if this V-band fits up perfectly, and it does. Look at that. All right, so now we're gonna continue welding, and here's that dark side of the lens shot, as I like to call it. And you can just see there just kind of the inner workings of what it's like to weld a V-band flange. And we're just letting that argon protect for a little while. That's just something that you always do when you're welding stainless. And so you can see there, look at the colors, very low heat input because I have the chill blocks and just the technique I'm using and everything like that. So, you know, again, if you do it right, you won't warp these V-bands. So just going to keep finishing up, making my passes, and I highly recommend to go like back and forth, or at least that's the way that I do it. So you can see there, that's the outside, that's the inside, looks beautiful, no sugaring, the argon protected very well, the back purging very well, and then again, the outside look. And you can see the colors look very nice. If you're into the colors, the stainless steel colors, there you go. Some nice colors to look at. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do that final test to see if we pass. And it looks like we do. You can see there that there's no warpage. And you can see on the inside, the seams look really good. They're super tight and connected. So yeah, if you use the good technique, you'll be all right. And once again, I just want to thank Evo Energy for just an amazing product. Again, they didn't pay me to make this video or anything like that. And like I said earlier, I only review products that I stand behind. And Evo Energy creates a high quality product for a great value. Everything is just machined very well, constructed very well, very durable, very strong. It's a good product, and that's what I use in all my exhaust builds is the Evo Energy V-bands, and it's a good company. Can't say enough good things about them, really. And, you know, so thank you again, everybody, for just tuning in to the channel. And if you like the Evo Energy V-bands, I'm going to leave a link in the description down below so that you can check them out. You can order them, you can buy them, you can weld them onto your exhaust, or, you know, you can just buy the GarageDynamics exhaust and, you know that quality is going into your exhaust. So again, thank you everybody for your support and your loyalty and everything like that. And with all that said, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video with a friend. If you know someone who's making an exhaust, share this video. And until then, I'll see everybody next time.